I led that growth. And so my program team that I managed was a team of 3, and we grew to a team of 12 in 12 months. And I helped support the growth of other patrols on the team. And I learned a lot during that time, as the founders on our call, or alumni on our call, are going to share as well. But I say all that to just give you some context of like, I did a lot of our building of our hiring practices at Camelback. The scorecards, the interview templates, the way we go about it, how transparent we are with how we hire. I really think it's a pillar of what we do. So I'm excited to be here with you all. Get to see you, get to be with you. Looking forward to seeing many of you at Guardian Summit in the coming weeks. So let's get started. We're going to end at 45 after. I know we started a little late, but we'll end and we'll get to as much as we can. We have 4 amazing alumni on the call, and so you see them on the screen. I'll put it up for intros, and then after intros, I'll take the slides down so it doesn't clog up everyone's view. But let's just do some quick intros. We'll start with Jessica, and then go down the line that we have here. Just quickly, who you are, when you did the cohort, and what's one thing that you love about hiring, and one thing that you find challenging about hiring. And then we'll get into the real questions. I know that was an impromptu question, but Jessica, I'll pass it.
Hi everyone, it's so nice to be in community with all of you today. My name is Jessica Santana. I'm co-founder and CEO of America on Tech. I did Camelback cohort number 1 back in 2015, and I also just joined the board of Camelback at the beginning of this year, which is such a full circle moment for me. Something that I love about hiring is I think that the best work that we do on this earth is the work that we do with people. And so being able to bring people along the journey to help build what we've envisioned over the last 12 years is really exciting to me. What I hate about the process of hiring is that sometimes you get some really good candidates, and I don't know that I'm as generous as Aaron, where I will just go create a role for somebody, but I don't like the idea of having to waste people's time, getting them on calls, getting to know them, and then having to not be able to extend an offer. That's probably the thing that I hate the most. Nice to meet you.
Welcome, Kwame.
Hi, Kwame Terra, founder and CEO of ThriveLink. We build AI agents for hospitals, health insurance, and governments. We were the core last 2025 cohort, and I really like there's a bunch of books about like hiring, but I really like getting the right person in the right seat. Says you can be the right person in the wrong seat, like meaning that they're a good person, and probably the example you said was they're a good person. I really like them, but this job is just not for them. Versus and really getting the right people in each for each, I guess, role on my team, and seeing the outcomes, because you typically know right away if you did the right thing or not. So, and we had some recent experiences with that I'm happy to share later, but really getting the right players on the board.
Kwame, Mira.
Hi everyone, so nice to be here today. My name is Mira Krishnan. So I run a nonprofit organization, Support to Succeed, and what we do is we are building and supporting a pipeline of non-traditional talent for licensed financial services positions. I completed the Camelback Fellowship last year as well. And I believe I unfortunately got disconnected for a moment, but I think the question was, what do we love the most and hate the most?
Hate or challenging?
Okay, got it. So regarding hiring, Support to Succeed is very early stage, so we're just 2 years old. And so for us, hiring has had to really, we just had to have gotten very creative as it relates to creative utilization of contractors, interns, etc. And so I think what I love about hiring is when you find the right person, it is truly transformational. What I don't like about it is the uncertainty when you know you need to find someone new. That process is sort of like, oh, you feel like you have to start over a bit. That's kind of my least least favorite part of hiring.
Hi everyone, my name is Elena McAdams, CEO of CAHEC. We are solving the infrastructure issue between higher learning institutions and clinical placements with hospitals and healthcare, broadening the scalability of enrollment for doctors, nurses, PTOT, and health science majors. I was part of cohort 15 with Mira, so super excited to see you again, Mira. What do I love about hiring? I love being able to bring in new talent that helps me understand what I don't know and broaden our experiences in our team. What I don't like, honestly, is the kind of back to Jessica's sentiment around we have so many qualified candidates that apply to our positions that we can't offer a position to everyone. So being able to have people reach back out and say, hey, you're great, but we won't be able to give an offer, and being able to, and actually have a conversation with everyone that I did not hire to explain kind of what happened and how I want to continue to engage, especially the ones I like to keep in my coffers for later.
Thanks all for the quick intros and sharing that answer. We're going to go backwards in time, so we'll go around Mira, Kwame, and then Jessica for the first question. This one's kind of broad, but the first question is, to start off, can you share a bit of the story of how you built your team? When did you make your first hire? Or why did you hire contractors before your first hire? Who was it? How did you make the need of what you needed? And just walk us through a little bit of the process of how the team has been built. A year or two.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty easy one for me. So I run a tech company, and I do not have a co-founder. So typically with tech companies, you usually have a technical co-founder. So my first hire needed to be a CTO. And actually the way I met him, I was at the health conference, and we just met serendipitously at one of the breakouts, and I met him before I hired him. And when we talked, I was talking about what I was building, and he was like, here, take my card. I'm a CTO, and I support underrepresented founders navigate the tech industry, because a lot of times they're often taken advantage of with third parties, with developers or whatever. So when I started my journey, I tried to do it on my own. Of course, you don't know what you don't know. And so I immediately reached out to them and said, hey, Marvin, I need your help. I'm at a point where I really need a experienced CTO. And so that's so the relationship happened before actually meeting at an event, an industry event, but then reaching out to say, hey, I've been able to see his work and actually have that relationship. So it worked out. It took about 2 months to get to that point, but that was the most important hire I've made so far.
Yeah, so I think for me, when we first started off, my first couple hires really were sort of, I would say, out of desperation. I was kind of on my own, getting things started, and then I had a good conversation with someone who she and I were both Harvard Business School alums. She was very interested. Um, and at the time I was kind of like, she seems great. Let me just hire her. She was not my best hire by any stretch. She and I did actually struggle quite a bit. And then after that, actually, for our very first program manager, I hired one of our alums. Similar with this particular alumni of the program. So I ran the first program, and then I needed someone else to run the next one. He was still job searching, so I said, hey, let me just hire him. And again, definitely a mistake. So I think, and then following that, we do partner with local colleges when it comes to interns. So we have a partnership with Tufts University. I'm located in the Boston area, and those interns have been truly excellent. And so I kind of discovered the potential of college interns. And one thing that I realized was that for our college interns, I was providing a lot of structure for them, because I kind of assumed, oh, these are college interns, they don't know a lot, they need a lot of structure, and they really benefited from that structure. And what I've found is with almost every hire, regardless of whether or not they're an intern or even a more senior hire, people do benefit from structure. and they perform better when there's more structure provided. So that's kind of been one of the learnings that I've taken away.
So, kind of setting a contextual framework, we build something where our goal is to touch 50 million people in the next 5 years. So we knew no matter what, we don't have a budget for the people you're going to need once you get to 1 million to 5 million to 10 million, etc. So we're talking about day one. We went to Upwork to find an individual engineer who had the experience to be able to do it that can make the first thing. And we knew like the initial team, the last person from that initial team, we transitioned him out of the company a month ago. So from that point, from over a 3 year time frame, we knew and we communicated to the team. So transparency is super important, right? So there's like, you have them where I absolutely need a person, but we also evaluated budget and can they do the thing to get us to the next phase, and that was the important thing. So we used a combination of Upwork. I strongly recommend it because you can do things in layers. So if we only had a small budget, there are some really expensive, specialized, talented people that for $200 though, they can set up everything. They can help me interview everybody. We can benefit from all their expertise. So sometimes, and Elena, we're both nurses. So I'm just like, I didn't know everything about technology, but I surely can find someone that does, and I paid them to help us pick that engineer to do the work and just manage it. So with a $2,000 budget, I got to market and generated $40,000 without having to like do a whole lot of things. Then, what then, as we got deeper and further down the line, we were able to get funding. We were able to tell stories, and it allowed us to get more dollars to get those more strategic people. So, from when we started Camelback Fellowship, I think it was maybe January. I don't know the time. Time is I lose track of time. In 2025, or at least early 2025, we had like 7 people. Now we have 31 people as a mixture of full-time and contractors, but just understanding that you're doing it in waves along with your budget. Time is flying. Dang.
Yeah, so it's so interesting because I have to put myself back in the seat of like 2014, which was more than a decade ago. But I will say, this is how I think about it. As a founder, you have to be very self-aware about what you're good at and what you are not good at. Like that is the first step before you even start hiring, before you even start thinking about where to allocate resources. Like you have to figure out like what is your unique genius, and you need to be focusing all of your energy on leveraging your unique genius. I have a co-founder, right? Him and I have been doing this work together for 12 years. He was also my best friend for over 18 years at this point in time. And I knew that his unique genius was in internal operations. His unique genius was in like finances, operations, governance, compliance. Those were the things that called me. What called me was like external relations, brand building, being the face of the organization in a way that was going to generate revenue. But what that left the gap with was who was going to take care of the program that we were building. And so the first hire that we made at America on Tech was a director of programs, and we did that 18 months into the founding of the organization because we knew that one, our young people deserved high quality learning environments. We also knew that my co-founder and I were not equipped to be able to do that. We were going to be able to, inform curriculum because we were former technologists. We were going to be able to inform like learning and cadence, but we were not going to be able to operationalize a machine for programs the ways in which we can operationalize the business side of the house. It's not the thing that was within the realm of our expertise. And so when you are initially hiring and you are starting to think about building your team, the first thing is, again, what is your self-awareness about the things that you're good at? How are you going to hire people that fulfill the needs that you currently have that you know you third thing is how much can you ethically pay these people so that they feel like they are owners of the operation the same way that you are owners of the operation. A lot of times founders, they try to skimp on paying people well. And what you don't realize is that in the beginning stages, like you need people who are going to feel invested. So that director of programs cost us a lot of money in the beginning. But I also don't think that without that initial hire, we would have made it to a 12-year mark of longevity, right? Because you need people in the beginning stages that feel just as invested. And I'm sorry to say, compensation is a part of making them feel like they are invested in your work. So if you have to put your founder hat on right now, you have to ask yourself those three questions. What am I good at? What am I not good at that I'm going to have to supplement? And how much can I ethically pay this person so that they feel like they are a co-founder with me in this work, even if they don't have that title?
Thanks, all. All right, this I'm not going to go in order. Anyone can jump in for this one. Kind of a light touch question, then we'll get into a deeper one. Uh, well, let me go to the deeper one. If you want, what's your approach to hiring? I know the fellows just came off of a session of some different hiring practices, but what are some folks, maybe there's a lot to that, maybe top 2 to 3 things, your approach to hiring? What do you think about? And anyone can jump in.
Yeah, I'll go first. And so one of the things I really didn't speak to is kind of my own personal history, and this is going to help with context. So I've been a healthcare executive for about 20 years, and then after that, I worked for a startup as employee number 5 that grew to $1 billion company in 3 years. So I was in charge of hiring about 300 or 400 people in the course of a couple-year period. And so when I moved out of that role into this role, there's some things that transfer and things that don't. So going back to Kwame's comment around Upwork and Fiverr, I did a lot of that up front. So I was going to say my distributed technology team was something that was affordable, but then if you don't have the right leader, they can pull them together. As a nurse, I didn't know what I didn't know. So going to Jessica's point, I had to pay someone to be able to herd the cats to make sure that like they were doing what they said they were going to do, and I've been very successful doing that. So from a hiring standpoint, there are hires that you pay, and then the other piece we're not really talking about are your advisory board hires. They're people you hire. Um, and how are you approaching that? I would say my hiring plan for folks I hire to pay has been LinkedIn. I've been very successful leveraging LinkedIn, and not so much with the paid LinkedIn, believe it or not. My free posts have produced the best candidates I could have ever asked for. And here's why. I think it's a hack for LinkedIn. When you are on LinkedIn and you post a position that you need, people who are actively searching for the criteria are the ones who find your job when it's a free post. Versus the sponsored posts, they kind of put, and you get a lot of just kind of noise into the thing. So I found my best advisory board members through a post on LinkedIn, and this was an unpaid equity-based position. I mean, I actually had one person who was advisor to the White House that applied to the position. So you'd be extremely surprised at who applies to those roles. And then also, I've tried Handshake, but one of the things I also think is important is when for me, I'm remote. I have asynchronous work opportunities for folks. And so you don't necessarily have to post roles that adhere to the pay of, I live in LA. You may find a really good candidate that lives in, Mississippi or Alabama, where the rate is still very, very good. You get a really high quality candidate, but they live in a different state and they're able to provide those hours in an affordable way. So don't think of it as based on where you are. Think about your market is the entire U.S. So look at a rate that's within your budget, and you can get a very strong candidate that way. So just want to throw it out there.
Yeah, I'll jump in here as well because when I hear like approach to hiring, right? Like the way that I think about hiring at this stage of the game for our organization, it's like skills, behaviors, and culture. Like those are the three priorities for me. When I think about like back to 2014, I think my mindset was the same, but I was asking myself a different set of questions, right? You guys are in the really early stages of building your business, right? So you need to ask yourself, like, what am I currently doing that I really should not be doing from a skills perspective, right? Back then, because I decided to take the external relations part of the organization while my co-founder focused on internal operations, Like I was creating decks, I was managing social media, I was, creating just our website, right? Like I just did a lot of like the external facing work while also having to show up at the conferences, find the speaking engagements, etc. Right? And I think that informed that there was a skill set that I was leveraging that I had that actually wasn't driving me closer to revenue, which is what my role actually is and what I'm good at. And I need to hire for the skills that I'm currently leveraging in my role right now so that it gives me more chances to actually get in front of the money, which is what I wanted to focus on. And so that's skills, right? You gotta ask yourself, like, what are you currently working on that you feel like somebody else should be working on? Behaviors, it's like, is this person the type of person that I can have operating within the realm of my organization that is going to be representing my organization in a room that I feel good about them being a representative in, right? Like, can I actually trust that this person understands the mission and the vision of the org, where in my absence, like they can speak meaningfully to what I'm building? And then the third thing around like culture is like at that stage, I wasn't looking for culture fits. I was actually looking for culture adds. And that's because when you're a small team, like you need people that are going to test your assumptions. You don't need a whole bunch of yes men, right? Like you don't need yes men, you don't need yes people. You need people that are gonna like hold you accountable to making a transition from you being a founder to you being a CEO. Because being a founder is one thing, being a CEO is another thing. And the way that you become a CEO is by having culture ads at your organization that can help fill the gaps in your own understanding of where you currently are so you can start making transitions to be like a real operation. So you have to ask yourself, in my opinion, like, what are the things I'm working on that I should not be working on and hire for that skill set? Can I find people that exhibit the behaviors that make me proud to put them in a room when I'm not in it? And can I find people that are not going to be yes people and can actually bring value to my organization that helps cover the gaps that I have that's going to refine my own leadership? And that has been my approach to hiring from the beginning that I think still rings true now.
Mira, I see your hand up. Why don't you go and then Kwame?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so love all the things that have been said so far. Yeah, I mean, I would say honestly for me, the approach to hiring, I also do use LinkedIn. I also use Handshake. All of our positions are virtual, which can make it hard, but I think for us it was really just sort of figuring out how do we put in place the right systems to make people successful in a virtual environment. And so one thing that I did for both Handshake and LinkedIn was to require a cover letter. It doesn't even matter what it is that you're requiring, as long as you require something that forces someone to actually read the description. In LinkedIn in particular, you can't actually, there's no way for them to submit a cover letter. So they have to email it to you. And I put it all the way at the bottom, and only 2 or 3 people actually followed through, and that showed me that those were 2 or 3 people that were very invested in the position, and then ultimately, those were the people that, also like kind of showed a level of care in terms of reading the description really carefully. Handshake, I had a tip from someone early on, like don't limit it to certain schools, just open it up to everyone, but again, requiring that cover letter is really important. It weeds out about 95% of candidates, leaving you with just a few candidates, and then kind of that really being able to choose candidates that are thoughtful. I also think that there's a lot of benefit in hiring sophomores, even freshmen, because they have the ability to stay. I hire people during the school year. Those are folks that are looking for a part-time opportunity. We've had one of our interns stayed with us for over a year. Another one is going on 2 years, and that's huge when it comes to support functions. And I think just generally, really making sure that that people are very clear upfront about sort of like, this is how our organization operates. Like, if you're an intern, when you're online, you need to let people know when you're online. You can create your own work schedule, but make sure you put it on the calendar so people know when it is that you're online. things like structural things like that, creating checklists and things like that I found it to be helpful in just helping people be successful. And even, I do have a couple of more senior people. And I honestly, one of them, I was like, wow, this person knows what she's doing. She can create her own structure, and then learned like the person wanted more structure. And I think for a more senior person, it's a little bit less around these are the tasks you need to do, but more around like, this is the communication that I need as a leader around kind of what are the metrics that you are working towards and where are you right now. Those are, I think, creating some communication protocols up front that are really important, and that we can't, like, if someone's not updating the CRM, there's just no way for me to know how well things are going. So little things like that, I think really, really have mattered in terms of both hiring and support as well.
And I put my response in the chat, so I'm happy to, if folks have questions, just so we can go on to the next question.
Sure, Kwame?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. We probably have time for more questions. Can you share a story, and Kwame, so can you share a story, if maybe you don't have one, but can you share a story of when a hire did not go as anticipated and what you learned from this experience?
Yeah. I expect that hires won't go well. That's my actual standard expectation. And it's because we are, if for all intents and purposes, the speed and time and turnaround time, we are a startup by all definitions. So, and I came from, backstory, I was the director of United Health, Common Spirit Health as well. That's the biggest health insurance company in America and the biggest hospital system in America. So I've hired all kinds of people. Probably before I started ThriveLink, I was trying to count at least 1,000 people have reported to me at some point. So when and knowing that, including like open heart surgeons, a startup is different from all of those things. So you can have someone who grew up in Google who will drown on our team. So it's a part of it is trying to be able to gauge the right time to hire the right talent. So we've had one of on paper, and like all intents and purposes, you would think that I've hired one person to do work that would be similar to our COO. And for all intents and purposes, she's great. Like if I had hired her before at 2 roles prior, including at United Health, etc., as a consultant, and she did stellar multiple times. But given the speed, the decisions that have to happen, all of those things, it was 2 things that happened. One, it was really hard for her to keep up when you have to deliver so rapid. 2, joining our team at the speed, and just for context, we were in 1 county last year, apparently, when we were in Camelback, and now we're in 17 states, hospitals across the country. So that's the amount of speed that happened in a year. So that is something that is unique, and that person had to really be humble and step into a different mindset, like go back into your growth mindset so you can learn how to operate at this pace. And it was just really hard for her to do that and like grapple with and be in the first position probably where she's like not doing a good job, like not being able to keep up. So we had to transition her out much sooner than we expected. I expected her to, struggle for 3 months and then figure it out, but she just couldn't flip the switch. So I'll talk about one of the things that's important. This is a controversial thing, but it's pretty straightforward to me. Always hire people as contractors first, because it's easy to fire contractors and they can't sue you. Or you can't get fined by the state and all those things. There are nuances to that, but contractor by far is the best way to go. I've also fired people that are employees, and it's just really hard depending on where they live. So if they live in the South, Georgia don't care, so you can do whatever you want. They might as well be a contractor. But if they're in California, New York, Massachusetts, you can't fire them pretty much, you just accept that you're gonna have to pay a lot of extra severance and all those things. And as an early stage startup, it could be a big issue when you're stuck with those people. So strong recommendation in that, and I personally experienced both. So happy to answer more questions.
I'll go next. So I had an experience. I had a really great candidate, just very specific. I went through an interview process, interviewed a few folks. This person stood out. I could not wait for this person to get started. Kind of going back to Kwame's point, I don't always have high expectations, so I just kind of test out. So all of my folks are office contractors. Make a long story short, there were some red flags almost immediately upon onboarding. First of which, our first team meeting, which they knew about, they showed up, everyone was on camera, this person was not. And I'm like, what's that about? And I realized at the end of the day, you still have to document. I was like, hey, these are my expectations, blah, blah, blah. So needless to say, this person lasted 2 weeks between hiring and letting them go because I needed to move on. And the issue was not a competence standpoint or understanding standpoint, it was a laziness issue. And so, people can make it through all the checks and balances, and in the startup world, and because I've been in startups since like 2021, you have to be able to move and pivot. And with AI, especially, and this was someone who was actually a master's student, who had worked for like some of the big, startups as kind of interns. I just knew, but they were more used to traditional employment at the end of the day. So, but I let them know, like, hey, this isn't working out. I'm going to pay you out this last week, blah, blah, blah. But throughout that process, he knew exactly what my expectations were, where things were falling apart. Oh, I'll do better, I'll do better. I don't have time for that. Look, I need to hire someone who's ready to work. And so his position was posted in that last week of like, hey, this isn't working out. And I had someone hired a week and a half later, and I've had that person for a year. So I would say the true slow to hire, quick to fire is something that you really need to wrap your arms around. And as a new leader who may have never been in leadership before to hiring and firing, crucial conversations is important, and always documenting any type of feedback you're giving people, good or bad, is going to help you at the end. So that was definitely a lesson learned for me because I was super excited, and this person was just did not meet the need, and I needed to move on.
Yeah, I can go next. Yeah, I mean, I think I like what Kwame said about sort of assume everyone is not going to be a good hire, and I think maybe another way of framing that is just keep a level of distance from these folks. Like, I do think our very first senior hire was someone who was first of all on my board. That can be a little challenging. Secondly, someone who I just thought was an amazing person. We had a really great personal rapport, and she had a lot of strengths, but she wasn't the right fit for that particular role. And I think because we had such a great personal rapport, it was a little bit more challenging to set that structure and expectations that I needed to set with her. Ultimately, she actually ended up leaving voluntarily, but I think part of it might have been because she also started to realize she wasn't necessarily happy with our relationship around kind of becoming more formalized. And so I think since that experience, definitely just setting that clarity up front about kind of hey, this is what I need, these are the expectations, and really making sure to keep hitting on that. We need to kind of give yourself the opportunity to kind of say, if you do need to let someone go, hey, look, I did explain what the expectations were, and this is kind of where you are. You're not meeting them. Making that conversation sort of of course, it's also about letting people know when they are meeting expectations and when they are exceeding expectations as well. But having a culture of ongoing feedback definitely makes it easier to just sort of let people go when you need to.
Yeah, I want to add maybe a different perspective here. I think that and I said this in the chat, but I think your process also has to produce your outcome, right? Because I think in the beginning stages where a lot of founders get things wrong is you just need people through the door that's gonna get things done, right? But at AOT, we've always formalized our hiring process to always include include like a case study or a task of some sort that the person would actually be doing on the job, right? And it gave us an indicator of like how this person like problem solves, how good this person would be in the role that we are hiring them for. So the more you invest up front in the hiring process, the better results you get with the hires that you actually bring on board. I also think that founders, like, we want people that come through the door already made, and I understand that in the beginning stages, we're trying to get things done. But you also gotta know that, like, folks are not disposable, right? I think like we gotta get that right. Like folks are not disposable. The people that you bring on your team, like these aren't people that you want to just be like, all right, here's the goal, here's the task, go shoot. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not the best way in which you should be investing in people. If you're trying to build something over the long term, like the best way to do that is to help people feel like they're bought into what you're trying to build and that they are a part of your journey. And if you're not offering equity, like we're a 501c3 at AOT, right? So the incentive is like you're here because you're passionate and you get the mission and the vision of what we're trying to do, not because at some way, some form, we're gonna have a liquidity event and you're gonna leave with a whole bunch of bread, you know? And so the work that you do up front in your hiring process like gets you better candidates. And once they are through your door, you as a founder, you are responsible for creating a culture that they feel like they are bought into. It doesn't matter how busy you are. It doesn't matter how much stuff is on your plate. Like if you're trying to be here for the long term, you need people there for the long term. At AOT, we've had people on staff. We still have. Like the majority of our staff has been with us about 7 years at this point in time, and that's really long, you know, in our sector to have someone there for that long period of time. But it's because they're bought in. So I don't want to skimp you all on the responsibility to shift your perspectives on what is going to be required of you if you want to have a big team. Because right now, I manage a staff of 100 plus people. 40% of those people are full time. 30, the other 60 something percent are between part time and contractors, right? And that does not happen if you do not care about the folks that you're in charge with. Like you got to plant seeds now for your growth. And I think a lot of founders, like we operate from places of ego in the beginning stages, and we start playing ourselves. Once you see people done left you in the middle of a work stream that you needed to get done because you didn't do the work to invest in them. So I'm gonna just put that out there too. Like, you know, people gotta feel invested in what you're doing, and you gotta become the kind of leader that you want to work for.
I'm gonna give a different perspective. I'm like I
Are
agree
we
for the most
playing?
part, but not for real. Look, I expect. I'm a sports person. I expect hoopers. I expect you to be so damn good at what you do that when you walk in the door, we like, oh, we're about to put up another 100. Like we gonna win a Super Bowl because like they do the draft and you see in the off season somebody that gets super excited because this person came to play with you. That's what I expect. So it
I'm
is.
not disagreeing with you. Just so you know, I'm not disagreeing with you though, right? But the thing
Oh
is,
yeah.
for you to get a hooper, right? They also gotta feel like you are the right person for them to hoop for. So I'm not saying lower your bar. What I'm saying is level up your bar and how you actually treat people once they come through your door. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
But I'm
I
not
guess
disagreeing with
we
you.
like a team full of hoopers. The hoopers want to hoop with hoopers. So I will give you an example. So like Maxine was my advisor through Camelback. She came and saw our team, and we were all hoopers, and she's now our CTO. So it's just like she'll tell you, and just all of our team members, like we just got Huron Consulting is like the biggest healthcare IT consulting firm. Their director of healthcare engaged with our team and just wanted to join. So it's like I agree with what you're saying. I want to say that, but I think it's way less on me. Like I don't have to inspire LeBron to go play basketball, and I just put that as just like the people that are the best players I've ever seen that are on my team. They hungry on their own. They're putting up points. They're bringing things to me that I never even thought about, just because they're so engaged on their own. and really I'm just like putting gas on it and giving and being moving things out of their way and letting them go do their thing.
And I think like, I mean, I think you two are saying the same thing. And like Kwame, and I think you are probably implementing things, seen or unseen, at ThriveLink that are allowing people to really, continue to level up, even if they came to the org at a high level.
And can I add just one more piece to it? I was saying the age of AI. There are people who they know what to say, what to write, how to leverage AI. And when you're asking for deliverables, because I use AI quite a bit, I can spot when people just put a prompt in and try to submit paperwork, right? And so, so when I define like laziness in that way, I'm like, well, wait a minute, I know you're actually capable of doing more. And so for me, am I going to continue this as I'm giving you feedback, babysitting, sending you text messages, are you joining the meeting, things like that. So there are sometimes some really big red flags that if you continue to coach that type of behavior, you're wasting time. So there are some things that I think when and I'm a for-profit company, so I do give equity out to first employees. We pay pretty well, and so it's mission, but it's also equity and compensation aligned. For me, because I can identify red flags and people who just try to game the system, especially asynchronous work, there are people who will take your money, give you the bare minimum. If you don't know any better, they will leverage that and not provide any true value. So you have to know when to cut your losses and move on versus continuing to invest. And now you're 6 months in with someone that you really should have kind of given it the opportunity. So for me, I knew it early on. So that's why that was the only employee I've had to do like that. But I realized that my team was much better off because of it.
All right, last question. Oh, okay. I see Mira. Mira has her hand up. All right, Mira.
It's okay. You can go to the next question.
Okay, it might tie in. It might tie. It's my last question. But I do love culture. And I think, Jessica, Kwame, you were kind of getting to that. I think culture is really important. I think it really either makes or breaks your team. I think we all know that adage, culture eats strategy for breakfast. I agree with that wholeheartedly. So I'd love to, as the final question, Mira, hopefully you can weave in. We'll start with you, Mira. Like, how would you describe your team culture? I know you can probably describe it in a very positive way, which if that's how you want to do it, great. I know sometimes culture isn't always positive at times, so that's okay. And how do you facilitate it? Because I definitely do believe it does start with the top. Even though it can be made with the team, it's really driven by the leaders of the org, whether it's the CEO, the ED, the leadership team. That's where it starts. People see things, and they start to model what they see. And if you're modeling something that you don't want people to do, they might pick up on it. So how do you develop culture? What does that look like? How do you facilitate it? Mira, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so I mean, it does actually relate to the prior discussion, but I think, as it relates to sort of like like how do you onboard someone and invest in someone, I do think it comes down to culture. And for us, I think that because we run a workforce development program and we utilize restorative practices in our workforce development program, it felt really important to me that we should also be using restorative practices with our staff and in our staff meetings. And I think that's honestly been like incredibly transformational. Just at a bare minimum saying to someone like, how are you in the beginning of every meeting, I think like has really helped us. So that, a lot of times too, even the same philosophy that we use with our students is if someone's not performing, we put investment up front into choosing these people. We're not choosing people off the street. So if someone is not performing something, there's a reason for it, and kind of and by building that culture of restorative practices into both staff and our students, it helps to get to the root cause. And it's personally been extremely valuable to me. It's just to be able to say to someone like, hey, look, like I can see that this particular area of your work, like you really shine in this particular area of work, and this particular area of work is a struggle for you, and being able to kind of shift people's roles into what they're most strong in. But in order to do that effectively, we need to be able to hear their point of view, and be able to kind of be able to have a little bit of a culture of belonging. And so that's one piece I would say. But the other piece as well, we're like very high on KPIs and data. We have, just like we hold our students responsible for meeting very clear goals. So staff as well, we meet every week. We talk about data, we talk about KPIs, we're all about intervention, and again, that's another kind of going along with the culture piece. And unfortunately, Riyadh actually do have to hop. I'm sorry.
No, I get it. If Jessica, Kwame, or Elena, you have to hop real quick, and if some could stay later, maybe defer to answer after someone left. Does anyone else have to hop right away? I know we're coming up at 45.
Yeah, I have to hop off at 45, but you know, guys, feel free to reach out to me. We have a lot of things that we've operationalized at AOT. Happy to share manuals, thought processes, workflows, like anything that you need. Happy to share, but the one thing I'll say is, it's like, yes, Ria, you're correct. Leadership starts at the top. How you show up as a leader is going to be indicative of how people show up for your org. And so don't play about yourself, and you'll find that you'll develop a team of people that don't play about you or the thing that you're trying to build. Bye, everyone.
For us, I just put it in the chat. We are a tech company, so you either good at writing code or you're not. We're in sales. Can you do the presentation and get your follow-ups done on time? You know, I think that it's easy for us to build a culture of people who care because we literally get paid to do social work. So you're not even coming to, like, that's everything we do. If you do your job well, you will feed 10,000 children who weren't going to eat today. So that is around everything we do. They get to hear the audio of, like, it was a lady that was talking to an AI agent and thanking it for getting her food because she didn't know how she was going to eat this week and with her kids. Like, we can hear her talking to our product and doing that. So the best way to be inspired is to make the product good so it can help more people. Then you will hear it and you will see the outcome. And I think there was a good point of, like, as the leader, how do you make that happen? So I'll share the video. Execution is worship. It's a phrase that Eric Thomas uses, a motivational speaker or whatever. And how we hold that accountable, my team loves it. I'm like they really, really like this. They have to deliver every single day. There's never a day where we're going to be okay with you not delivering without a good reason of communicating. It's not done until it's done. Everybody agrees with that. Everybody's on board with it. And I have the leaders in each sector. They communicate together and they make deadlines together. So I'll give you an example. When my technology team needs to make a new feature, they do it with the sales team who's selling that feature. So the sales team is not even scheduling meetings to talk about the feature, whatever, marketing, etc., until the engineering team has agreed to this date. So because it's an accountability framework, we all working together. So if it's due Friday and we have a meeting on Tuesday, everybody knows we're gonna have to help them QA this thing on Saturday if it's late, because we've all agreed and we're all in it together. And that's why the accountability part is, like, easy to see. You make it bold, and you as the leader, you gotta hold them accountable. Like, yeah, bro, you was gonna go out of town, but you didn't do your thing, so you ain't going out of town. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you gotta finish. And then the final thing that is, like, inspiration, we don't give a lot of equity, but we give a lot of bonuses. So if we're doing a $500,000 project and you're the engineer that worked on the button and we close the project, you're going to get a bonus out of that project. So that you get bonuses galore. You do a lot of projects, you'll get a lot of bonuses. You'll make a lot of money. And then the final part is being a coach. Good players like being coached. They're like not offended by, like, you could have done this better, and we're trying to get across. And if that's something that you're encountering, just find another person. It's, like, way faster to do that, because everybody, we're moving so fast and growing so quickly because it's star players playing with star players. The Splash Bros. Steph Curry has someone to pass it to, and they expect it to go in. So having that culture, they vibe together way better. They're having way more fun, and they want to be successful with their counterparts. So you being a coach, I'm going one-on-one with all these different people, like my engineering team. I spend a lot of time with her on how to communicate to non-engineers so you can get information faster. Taking those pieces pushes her to a point where she's going to get to the Hall of Fame a lot faster than she would have if I don't give her quick feedback so she can say, oh, you're right, that's helpful. And now she's moving faster.
Anything
So, so those things are really important. Execution is important. Like when you tell someone you're going to do something, I do it, so I expect it to be done. So when I give the excuses, I'm like, there's no reason for you not to let me know you couldn't make it happen. So the only way you're going to move forward is to be able to execute, to be able to be honest and upfront. And then also, I can't lead always with my ego. I don't always know what I don't know, and I want my team to be able to speak up. So have an environment of safety where people can bring up, say, hey, Lana, this doesn't make sense. I don't think we're going to make it. I'm like, okay, let's step back, figure out what do we need to do to meet the deadline so everyone feels like they're owning the process and the success of it. And I've encountered that a few times where someone said, hey, this doesn't quite make sense. This is what we need to look at. And it's actually saved us a lot of time and money by, I'm thinking it's going to go this way, but the people on my team realize this isn't necessarily the best direction. So being able to listen as a leader and hear your team before any big decisions are made is extremely important because they can save a lot of money and time for the organization.
On that note, we're going to call it to a close. I just want to give a big thank you to Kwame, Lena, I know Mira, Jessica has to step away to university, but thank you all so much for bringing your wisdom, lessons learned, to our fellows, and everybody has a good time as well.
All right, see you guys at Guardian.
Thank you so much, Mia, for coming and host us. Thank you to the panel. That was really, really good. I know that everyone got something from it. I was in the chat box looking around. Anyone want to share any takeaways in the next 2 minutes? Anything that you want to implement for your listeners?
I have to
1,000 notes. Okay, thank you.
But I just want to say thank you for inviting me in. I look forward to connecting with you all at Guardian Summit. And safe travels.
Thank you so much. I definitely feel like everyone took 1,000 notes. Right here, y'all did it. It is the 20th and 22nd. So round of applause to everyone for making it. It will be hosted, of course, by the program team. We have some great workshops that we're facilitating. There, of course, will be breakout. So please prepare to spend time with us from 12 to 3 p.m. on Wednesday and 12 to 3 p.m. on Thursday. We did shorten it to 2 days because originally it was 3. So we're going to cram a lot in, but we have 2 full days. Submit days and time zone matching email invite. Yeah.
Yeah, we just have 3. We just have 3 calendar invites. So is that assuming one will be canceled?
Fridays.
Thank you.
Yep. Yes. So we just shortened it.
It says it's 11 to 3 Eastern. I'm sorry,